What's up? It's your girl Brianca Jay, and I'm back with another video. Put my glasses on, y'all. I I absolutely love wearing blue light glasses. They do it for me. I don't know if it's because I'm always on the computer, but also just to make me look cool, Anyway, back with another video. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe if you enjoy talking about these 33 strategies of war with me. We're already on our offensive warfare section. Guys, this is my favorite. This is my favorite part of Robert Greene's book so far, which is his offensive warfare. And I don't know, I think for me, because I'm always constantly just trying to have peace, I never really considered just how strategic and easier your life could be if you played the offense a lot more often than you played the defense. It reminds me of that Nipsey Hussle quote, ain't no point in playing defense, nigga. Jump off the deep end, nigga. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta do what you gotta do. And when you're playing defense, just like you're always playing catch up. But when you're playing offense, you're in the driver's seat of your life. So I really like this section because it just reminded me how important it is to kind of stay in control of the events around me in order to maintain peace in my life. Because sometimes just being peaceful is not enough. So, offensive warfare. He starts off saying, having a grand strategy can result in success that creates 1, too many options and resulting in indecision, and 2, a drunkenness on success and reckless behavior. So, chapter 12 is lose the battle but win the war. Grand strategy. He tells us to have a bigger plan. A bigger plan than, whatever. He's a great campaign. So that's what Alexander the Great here. He developed a new strategy of looking far forward and differentiated himself from other leaders. He gained the ground he needed territorially and emotionally to a point that they could not be governed. He did not fight battles he couldn't win. Instead, he effectively nullified his opposition and went towards his grand plan always. Then there's also total warfare. He talks about in 1968 during the Vietnam War, they executed a countrywide offensive on the Tet holiday. And then even though they had to retreat from their gains, the offensive was designed just to confuse the U.S. and South Vietnamese armies and play to the U.S. media. And in that way, it was quite successful. So think about the big picture and not just the battle. We are often going to lose the battle. And sometimes it's better to lose the battle in order to maintain the winning of the grand strategy. If you play chess, you often give up your pawns willingly just to give you more opportunity across the board and to take the center. So keys to warfare here. Look past what appears to be the threat and find the source and attack it. So you don't necessarily want to go at the gun. You want to go at the person trying to shoot the gun, right? Look beyond the opponent's horizon. So look beyond just the surface level thing that the person is saying or their surface anger and try to get to the root of what the cause is. It says make your actions hard to follow. Do not expose your strategy. So it's never let them know what you're doing next. Be cautious, be thoughtful, be okay with losing a battle. It's okay because you win the war. And then have purpose and goal, looking far into the future. So, yeah, these are just great strategies. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I won't go into too much detail. But he does say you must be formless and difficult to read, spread false information, and lead others astray. He says know your enemy, the intelligence strategy. Know your opponent's moves and do not let your motives be known. Understand their way of thinking. He talks about in 1838 with his British invasion of Afghanistan. Auckland did not understand the Afghan people or their culture, and he makes numerous mistakes. The result was his death and the return to Dost. So he kept trying to get Dost to he wanted the Durrani to like betray his country and told him like, oh, we'll give you money and da da da. But what he didn't understand was that Afghan people don't like invaders of any nature, and they're not really bribed by material things. They just have a lot of pride. So the things that he utilized to bribe this man didn't work. And what happened instead was he was given a false promise and then executed on a false treaty. So just know who you're dealing with and know what their motives are, their interests, their driving factors are, so you can have a better opportunity of being successful. Then he talks about the close embrace. He says Prince Metternich met with Napoleon around 1813, and he wants to understand him and find points of weakness. Then he eventually gets this other woman right named Mary Louise. And then he used his knowledge to the advantage of Austria, allowing him to build an army and join a greater alliance in Europe, eventually leading to the defeat of Napoleon at Waterloo. So he got really close to this guy, became his friend, helped him find his wife, all of this stuff, only to eventually take the information he learned to propel himself into a greater position. So the close embrace, and that's always going to be the case. The people closest to you are going to make you the most vulnerable. So you have to be very careful of just always looking at your camp and understanding if you're ever playing offense that you got to kind of get really close to your enemy. And I think that's the interesting thing about this book is that what you realize is that, you know, friends, enemies, they really kind of have to play the very similar relationships. You have to be quite intimate with an enemy in order for it to be an enemy, because you have to understand and you have to be able to negotiate. Even in times of war, there are times where you have to parlay and talk with your enemy and come to some type of terms. Even if it's a fake type of agreement, you do have to be in close relationships to this person. So 1, gather the knowledge of your opponent. 2, learn to read people, learn them very well. Hide your observation. Just because you learn someone, do not tell them what you understand about them. Strive for quality of information, not quantity. So look for the best and weakest points in your opponent so that you can have the best opportunity of skillfully gaining traction. It says be aware of internal spies and disarm them. So be aware of your own camp and submerge yourself in their mind. Always have a way of being a part of their inner dialogue. Even if you have people around them speaking on your behalf and bringing you up, or you're just courting their attention through social media, but court their attention at all costs. Show erratic start that is non-predictive. Speed is imperative here. So it says overwhelm resistance with speed and suddenness. The blitzkrieg attack. A strategy. Slow, methodical start and well-planned attack. Move fast and sure. So they call this the slow, quick. And so he talks about Genghis Khan about 1218. He attacks and defeats the more powerful Muhammad II, starting with a series of small, deliberate attacks that look like losses. And then he makes more serious and speedy attacks to defeat Muhammad II. This reminds me of people that lure people into these like pool shark things where it's like, oh my God, I'm so shitty. And then you gamble and they take you for all your money. Slow, quick. So small units provide mobility, must have a superior coordination, and then quick orders through light chains of command. That is the strategy here for this key to warfare. Then next, there is no reversal. You must have control, although you may not want to show it. So control the dynamic, force strategies. Be in control, be assertive, control your opponent's mind. Move them into your territory. Again, think chess, not checkers. No kidding. But think chess, seriously. So, the art of ultimate control is that you have to make the first move. Fight on your territory where you are comfortable. Look for your opponent's weakness and draw them into it. Deceive your opponent to make them think that they are in control. Even make someone think you're playing a game. You make them think that you're not really good at it, right? That you're kind of making false mistakes, and then all of a sudden you reveal your strategy when it's the perfect time. Never too soon, never too late. Historical example of this. In 1942, during World War II, Rommel used smaller units on the North African deserts to strike the British. He kept the units moving continuously like ships at sea, reducing the ability to attack them. Often he rode with the front line of attack in order to shorten the information chain. Then we talk about unparalleled pictures of film Night After Night. Mae West slowly made moves to change the dynamic of power into her court, and she eventually took over significant portions of the film's writing. So she came in, they just wanted her to do very small parts. She was like, no, I need to kind of write the lines better. And then from there, she was like, I need to direct better. I need to change the camera angles. And by the end of the movie, it was something completely different. And Mae West, who was just simply supposed to be comedic relief, ends up being the star of the film. Now, the film did go well, but that was not the intentions of their creators. And it shows how you can use your dynamic. She kind of forced the dynamic. She gave very strong ultimatums. In fact, even saying, I'll give you all your money back and leave if I can't have this opportunity to write my parts. And they conformed, and she got her way. So next we have no reversal. Everyone, regardless of structure, has a center of gravity. So it says hit them where it hurts. The center of gravity strategy. Attack the central point, be it the command center, supply line, belief system, whatever it is, capture and destroy it. He talks about the pillars of collapse in 209 BC. Scipio attacked and captured New Carthage, Hannibal's main supply point and the Carthaginian capital in Spain. This crippled Hannibal's supply routes. Scipio continued on to Carthage in 204 BC, capturing it in 203 BC, recalling Hannibal from Italy and removing his threat. The goal here was to find center point of your opponent and attack it. Be it communication, media, and supply lines. You take someone's supply line, you basically take their lifeline, and therefore you win, right? You take, no matter what it is, you can have all the pieces on your chessboard. If I snatch your king, the game is over. So just keep that in mind when you're playing. Now it said dividing your team can generate a deft and mobile force. Defeat them in detail. This is a divide and conquer strategy. Everybody's heard of it before. But look at the parts and determine how to control the individual parts. Create dissension and lever it. So your central position. Think about the Persians back in 490 BC. They planned an attack on ancient Athens, and they landed about 24 miles north of it. They were in Marathon. The Greeks traveled north, blocking the path between the two areas. The Persians split their troops at night and attempted an attack in Athens directly by sea. The Greeks then attacked the troops in what is known as the Battle of Marathon, and then ran back to Athens to prevent the Persians from disembarking. So by breaking up their troops, they ended up confusing the enemy, so they went to Marathon, but the whole time the Persians were attacking Athens by sea, which is what they really wanted in the first place. This happened again in the American Revolution. Samuel Adams was fighting representation for the colonies, and he struggled until the Staff Act by the British. 1765, Adams gets the colonies. They rattled no taxation without representation, and then with the Tea Act, Adams rallied people to revolt, and he dumps tea into the Boston Harbor. So he consistently takes pieces and takes these different things and creates mountains, right? And he divides his strategy until everybody is so angry. He keeps attacking the British with small attacks, and people say this is enough. And finally, he goes to the Boston Tea Party, overdump all the tea. They win their way. Key to warfare here is divide the power base for their capture area so that no one area had the power to attack. People have banded together to defend themselves, deny them this comfort. So don't ever let people unify too much. Make factions. Divide groups, and they are easier to conquer. And then surprise and splinter the group, attacking only the pieces. So never attack a whole unit at once. Divide them, right? You see it now, even our politics. Oh, the Mexicans did this, or the blacks did that, or, moms do this, or white women are doing that. Divide and conquer, right? You see how they even do the campaigns, how they pander to different audiences with different rhetoric. Same thing here. So it says, occupy, Sorry. Occupying the opponent's position can reverse on you by making you look too much like them, losing differentiating factors. So expose and attack your enemy's soft flank, the turning strategy. Bait for a frontal attack. Get your opponent to extend his ranks, and in the distraction, have your forces attack his exposed flank or rear. So occupying the flank. Julius Caesar perfected the art of indirect fighting. Although there were many times when he enlisted the direct method, there are many cases where he fought indirectly, notably where the power struggles with Pompey. Much of his work was done by showing Pompey's men his kindness and honored treatment of his troops. This worked to get many of his opponent's troops to surrender. So he made Pompey think that he was like weak and he didn't have any more resources. And so when Pompey's men attacked, instead of like killing them and being merciless, he actually gave them a lot of food. He paid them well. He treated them well. And what ended up happening is that Pompey's men became very disloyal to Pompey and very loyal to Caesar. So he was able to expose and attack his enemy simply by having Pompey exhaust his men, and then he could come in and be their hero. The keys to warfare here is indirection is the key to modern day business battles. And then use charm and flattery to lure your opponent to drop their guard. And then show your opponent's bad traits. Always reveal their worst tendencies, right? And it says no reversal without 100% success. You are left open to reprisal. This reminds me of that episode of Game of Thrones when they were like root and stem. Next time you want to kill me, pull me out root and stem, because I will come back. So I think it's when the red wedding, when the red wedding happened and Arya goes back and kills all the Freys, and she's like root and stem. Okay. Horns of the Beast in 1778 in British Natal wanted to absorb the Zulu territories in the Battle of Aswandia. The Zulu used their knowledge of the land to surround, surprise, and rout the British. So the Zulu had this circular attack method, but they also had these cleaning rituals that took hours and hours and hours. And so they knew if they had to stop the battle and go into a cleaning ritual, they would be vulnerable to attack. So they would never, ever, ever leave an opponent empty. And that's why they use certain type of methods and strategies to ensure that if they went to battle, every man must die. So he said the keys to warfare here is psychology of enclosure is strong. John D. Rockefeller used his tactic continually to surround potential competition by buying land and infrastructure they needed to compete with him. Then they also say use what you have in abundance. And lastly, create the feeling of being surrounded by creating attacks from nowhere. There is no advantage of direct attack. Maneuvering, though, can give you too many options and can paralyze your advance. So, maneuver them into weakness, the ripening of the sickle strategy. Continue calculated moves in your position. This will enable you to control the situation and bewilder and exhaust your opponent. Maneuver warfare. Create flexible plans with many options. Make plans that keep your opponent in check and always on the defensive. Make plans that give you room to maneuver, and make plans that slight irrationality or puzzle your opponent. There are so many examples of this that to think of. Those are just some keys that you want to take in. Think about Napoleon when he had to defeat the Austrian armies in Italy. He made his plans and nearly everything went wrong. But Napoleon had made enough alternate plans and he kept maneuvering on the new situations at hand, and he defeated them at Marengo, where his original plans had predicted he would. So when you make a plan, and I've noticed from experience, when you make a plan, you also have to be prepared for things to kind of go a bit astray. But if your goal is your goal, you'll get back there. So you make your plan, but you're flexible in the maneuvering, and you're present to responding rationally to each action just to get back to your main goal. So if your main goal was X and you have to go A through Z to get there back to X, that's fine as long as you get to X. I'm really running out of space on my computer. I'm running out of battery here, and so we already hit like 19 minutes and 48 seconds. So what I'm going to do is make a part 4.5, which is like, half of this. And I'll come back and do the other half another day once I charge my battery, because that's enough to think about right now anyway. And I'll be back with the rest of offensive strategy. And then we also have to talk about the last section of the book, which is guerrilla warfare. So stick around. I got some stuff for y'all, and I'm really, really enjoying this series. So I love that you guys are too. Make sure that you comment, like, subscribe on it if you want me to do more breakdowns like this, when I kind of go from section to section, chapter to chapter, giving you like key points. It's easier than reading a book, I guess. Anyway, I'm Brianca Jay. I'm your host. Comment, like, subscribe, be a part of the family. I hope to see you again. Catch you later.